Actually, doing a reaction video. I haven't done a reaction video on freaking Twitch in forever. Mostly been doing like off stream, pre-recorded for YouTube, because it's like more convenient that way. But this video, I literally just saw it on freaking Twitter feed, and I was like, hey, that's something that I talk about a lot on my streams. Let's watch that freaking video together on stream. I haven't watched it yet. But basically, it's about black hairstyles, and I often mention it because a lot of games kind of like lack variety. Like most games, especially like from like Korean developers and Japanese developers, they give like 2 hairstyles and I'm like, all right, we give a fro and some cornrows. That's enough. It's like, oh, great. My entire culture is just those 2 freaking hairstyles. It's like when you play video games and you're black, you try to make a character who looks like you're just like, all right, best I could do is a tan white guy. Was like a lot of games that I played, either A, if the options are very, very bleak, I just don't even play. I just uninstall right out the gate. There's been games where I'll install it, go to the character creator, and be like, this looks like shit, then uninstall. Other games, if the options making a black character is very like bleak and whatnot, I just freaking end up making a female character instead. It's like, all right, I like the game, I'll make a chick, because making a chick is easier than making a black dude in video games. So let's peep this video. We need to fix black hair in video games by The Blessing Show. There you freaking heard of The Blessing Show.
Black hairstyles in video games. Let's talk about both of them.
Oh boy.
If you've been following me for a while, you've likely followed my hair.
Say this right now, I can guarantee you the people in the comments in the video saying like, who cares? Like, usually what happens when you like mention these kind of things about, you know, ethnicities and ethnic groups when it comes to video games, you always get people who aren't part of the ethnic group who are like, who cares? They don't need to add it. There's enough hairstyles. Just use this hairstyle. I don't have any issues with hairstyles. Like, hey, bitch, ain't about you.
Journey going from bald, professional Smash Brothers player, pandemic beard, to most handsome member of Kinda Funny. And even though those 4 different looks encompass me in only the last 3 years, video game options when it comes to black hairstyles can surprisingly be more limited than this. Over time, video games have gotten more advanced. We've seen steps forward in areas like writing and graphical fidelity. We've seen more detailed art assets, greater amounts of content jam-packed into releases, and yet character creation tools stay the same. For many demographics of players, especially black players, this is unfortunate because for a medium that provides opportunities for its audience to exist as an extension of themselves through features like character customization, representing myself in a video game through something as simple as hair often comes down to an afro or cornrows, and that's it. And kudos to game devs for often including cornrows, a hairstyle that can be dated back over 3,000 years to sub-Saharan Africa. My one question though is, who is this?
Like some games, if you get more than 2 options, you might get like some variation of dreads, never like a good variation of dreads. You might get like the dread freaking, like you might get some locks that have like the shaved sides, and that's it. It's like, there, you got some locks in your game, because it's just, you just got like the ponytail locks with shaved hair looking at you, Skyrim. Or you might get like this, like those really, really thick afro-ish like locks where it's like, it looks like an afro and not look like locks. New World. So like, you really don't get like a lot of options.
Dude with cornrows that every single video game developer seemingly knows. I see cornrows every now and then in the wild, but if you're going by video game logic, you'd think 50% of the black population are rocking cornrows. But the truth is that black hairstyles are as diverse as any other ethnic group. We're talking high top fades, low top fades, twists, locks, sister locks, pin curls, jerry curls if you're my dad, bantu knots,
I had a jerry curl when I was little.
tapered afro, 360 waves, finger waves, sponge curls, and whatever the fuck is going on with Drake's hair. That's barely scratching the surface, and we're also talking about limitless ways to style all.
Like, I shit you not, just as a quick pause. When I was in 2nd grade, I had jerry curl. First off, I'm old, I'm 31, so jerry curls are still a thing, and you know, my mom gave me a jerry curl in 2nd grade. Don't know why. It was a lot of work. You had to like put the little oiling and shit in your hair. You had to wear a freaking shower cap.
Those hair options I just mentioned, and yet, even with all these options, when I boot up Elden Ring, I'm forced to make characters that look like this. This looks like if Baby Keem joined My Chemical Romance. And I admit, fixing this fairly common issue with representation and inclusion isn't easy. Game development is difficult, period. And a common obstacle brought up in regards to Elden Ring and other games are cultural barriers. A good amount of popular games are developed in countries like Japan, where access to diverse dev teams and an understanding of black textured hairstyles isn't readily available. However, understanding of monstrous crows, dragons, and giant hands with way too many fingers come naturally. Black representation is complex compared to alien frogmen. I'm sure it's way easier to conceptualize this than a fade. Elden Ring is the highest selling new IP in years, and I guarantee you, From Software and Bandai Namco understands that their audience extends internationally. But when given the option to create a Black character, I would like to create a version of myself that doesn't look like if Lil Nas X sang lead for Fall Out Boy. For many, I'm sure this seems like a very minuscule and specific thing to complain about. There's plenty of noteworthy areas of improvement the games industry can still make, even in just the area of representation and inclusion. So why is black hair one to harp on? Well, for folks who just listen to me on podcasts and have never seen a Kinda Funny video before, surprise, I'm black. But also, believe it or not, black hair is a sensitive topic. In 2020, high school senior Asia Simo was kicked off of her cheerleading team due to her hair being too thick for the half-up, half-down standard that the team required. In 2018, a viral video circulated of high schooler Faith Fenity being humiliated after having to leave school because of the hair policy. In 2019, 16-year-old high school wrestler Andrew Johnson was told to cut his dreadlocks before a match or forfeit. And he did it. Black hair discrimination has been prevalent in schools and workplaces,
hurt me
so much so that just last year, laws were passed to try and fight against it. Even the editor of this video, Roger Picorni's partner, Leanza, dealt with facing suspension when wearing a natural hairstyle. So I went over to her house to sit down and talk about it.
Feeling healthy by leaps.
That last one, that kind of hurt.
Making a dinner that
like
makes
being
their
forced to
whole
cut your
day,
locks.
and giving your best
You have to understand when it comes to like
best
locks,
news.
especially. Like, it's very personal when it comes to people who have locks. Like locks isn't normally just like a regular hairstyle. It's part of like a cultural journey or spiritual journey. So like cutting your locks is for black people is a big thing.
I'm very excited to talk to you about this because, of course, we're doing a video about black hair in video games. While working on this video,
let me add this before I forget. No, slip on. You know what's funny also about the whole the black hair thing? There's a game called Vindictive. It's an MMO from, I forgot who made it, but in this game, Vindictive, you have to spend money to get locks. Like they have locks behind a paywall. It's like, hey, Black, if you want to make a character who looks like you in our game, you got to pay for it.
I've been looking through and going through examples of black hair discrimination. Roger brought to my attention that you have a story that's in that vein. Are you able to share that story?
Yeah, absolutely. Just that I went to Catholic school. Most of my youth I went to Catholic school, so I was kind of used to being like one of the only, kids of color in the class. In the handbook, it literally says that we can't have any ethnic hairstyles, quote unquote. We can't have dreadlocks, we can't have cornrows. There's this rule where if your fro was too big, you'd have to cut it a few inches or you would get expelled.
Oh, wow.
And I remember it was prom and I feel like I really wanted to look cute. I never had my hair long, so I was like, oh, let me just do an extension style. Very long twist, very fluffy. So I went for prom with my hair that way. And it was fine. I didn't hear anything from anyone in charge. I went to prom, I had a good time. So the next day is graduation, and so I show up and I cross the stage to get my diploma. You get your diploma after you get off the stage. So I get off the stage and I go around back to where all my friends are. The vice principal pulls me over and she looks very mad. And I'm wondering why she's mad. She starts yelling at me.
Outside of my teachers, when I was growing up in Detroit, I never had like a white student in my class. There was like some mixed race girls in our class who like they could pass as white, but they would mix or black. I didn't see like white people in school until 7th grade because I moved to northern Michigan, where it was majority a white school. I was like, oh, okay.
Starts berating me
at graduation.
Yeah, at graduation.
Like after you walk across the stage.
Yeah, she says you're not getting your diploma. You're going to detention actually on Monday. You're gonna take that out of your hair. You'll get your diploma after that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, all my friends around me are crying and
Imagine holding someone's diploma hostage because of their hairstyle. Think about that. You're gonna hold your diploma hostage because of your hair.
Celebrating, but I'm crying for a very different reason. So it was very dehumanizing. The fact that it was just because of my hair really stuck with me.
Mm-hmm. Was there anything specific to the hairstyle that you were rocking that they mentioned, or was it being too ethnic that they didn't like?
A lot of other girls in the school had hair that was colored. They dyed their hair like bright red, like orange.
That was getting good to me. My next question was like, were all the other students dressed like nuns? Like, did they all have just straight hair?
No, the rules kind of like extended to certain people. It honestly like lit a fire in me at that point, because then I was like, this is something that should never happen to anyone.
So why is black hair such a big issue? Well, it simply comes down to Western beauty standards. The idea that black features aren't normal or common enough for consideration. This roots back to a history of anti-blackness in the West. In Black American history, black hair was stigmatized in order to dehumanize black folks during slavery and solidify ideas of Western beauty standards. And even after the abolishment of slavery, those standards stuck around, seeing black Americans use products to straighten their hair to try and fit in and elevate their status. The shift in black culture toward accepting our natural hair actually came during the civil rights movement. Some African Americans started embracing hairstyles like afros and cornrows. Interesting, right? Martin Luther King Jr. in a speech even went as far as to say, don't be ashamed of your heritage, don't be ashamed of your color, don't be ashamed of your hair.
I'd hate that hair color's red.
Beautiful. Yeah, I bet you didn't think you were gonna get a Black History lesson on a channel called Kinda Funny Games. And yet, from the limitless examples I can give you of black hair discrimination, Western beauty standards are still a big issue, which begs the question, why can't we let natural hair be what it is? Natural. This extends to the games that we play and love. Last year, Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out with a more expanded character creation system for the franchise. So expanded that the second darkest skin tone is almost as dark as Rachel Dolezal. Babylon's Fall last year couldn't even attempt to acknowledge the existence of black folks in their character creator. And then there's Horizon Forbidden West, a game that actually features a lot of good black representation. From allies like Varl and Zoe, to villain characters like Regala and Silence, played by Angela Bassett and Lance Reddick. Horizon features a refreshingly inclusive cast, and Varl, one of my favorite characters in the game, rocks locks that I can only dream of having, and I love it. It's this type of creativity and variety in exploring black textured hairstyles.
Here's what I like about this character's locks. This is very creative. Like, the developers took time to be creative with this hairstyle, because you don't actually see this lock style in the wild. Generally, comes in video games, if they do have locks, which is rare, if they do have locks, it's very basic locks. Like I said before, it's like the Skyrim locks, where it's just a ponytail lock with the shaved sides, or you get like those thick afro locks, or you might, if you're lucky, you might get locks like these, which is what you see in Hogwarts Legacy. You don't see developers be creative with locks, because, you know, in real life, people who have locks tend to be a little creative with it, where they'll like try different styles. As many lock styles I've seen a lot, because people who have locks watch all kind of lock videos. I've never seen a lock style like that, which tells me the developers, you know, they know that people, you know, who look like me have a habit of being creative and trying different lock hairstyles, and so they went with a unique hairstyle with this guy. I can see people who have locks who might play this video game and be like, you know what, I might rock that.
That makes me
what's considered a black hairstyle. Yeah, well, locks for one. You also got the Jerry curl, the S curl, the high top fade, low top fade. You know, yeah, the bubble braids, cornrows, other different variation of braids. You also there's a few. I can't even top of my head, but there's a few. Bringing consultants. You don't really need consultants. Just look at your community. Like, if social media exists, if you are a game developer and you're making a character creator, you can just look at social media. You can go to, okay, let's go to this hair website and see, or this hair Instagram, and see what people are, you know, generally using. It's like, oh, this person is, they own an ethnic beauty salon or whatever, a barbershop, and you can see what hairstyle. You don't have to do all of them, but just, you know, take some variety from it and put it there. Sport games have a lot of hair variety. But the reason why is because sport games are usually targeted towards blind people. So you play games like Madden, NBA 2K, a lot of those games have so many black hairstyles because they know the player base is mostly blind people. And you know, some people were appropriators of having dreads. I'll say this about locks. Locks aren't 100% a black thing. Locks have been a thing in society for hundreds of thousands of years. There's been Native Americans who've had locks, but of course there's also Native Americans who are black and not from Africa, but just from America, who just have to be darker and have more black features. There's also been Indians, as in, like, you know, Asian Indians who had locks for thousands of years. Locks isn't necessarily a black thing. It's just more so what we use, and it become like synonymous with our culture. But there's been other races and ethnic groups who've used locks.
genuinely excited because it's obvious that somebody or multiple people on their team cared. You don't just happen onto a...
Quickly though, when I said like there's people of Indian descent who have locks, usually those are cultural elders. So it's not like everyone in India has locks. Usually if you see someone who's of Indian race who have locks, usually it's for religious reasons and they're like an elder within their religion.
Hairstyle like this. And even though Horizon is one of the best examples in recent memory of a game showing effort toward depicting black hair, it still doesn't get it perfect. Varl, for example, has incredible locks, but when you zoom in on his sides, it's glaring that his fade is using white textured hair. At a quick glance, it might not be noticeable, but what is noticeable is Varl's beard, which also looks to be using a white hair texture. I use Horizon as an example of how far we've come and how far we still need to go in order to get things right. Because these things are noticeable. In that same sit down with Lianza, we talked about another super popular game, Animal Crossing, and how she's been let down by that franchise in the past.
I specifically play a lot of life sim games. It's really hard to make me in those games.
What's it like trying to create yourself as an avatar in Animal Crossing?
The main thing that bothered me was before New Horizons, like dark skin did not exist.
Oh wow.
Yeah, you had to in New Leaf, I believe, tan.
Yeah.
I remember leaving my DS out while I went to like grandma's house, and then I would come back. My character would be like a little dark, like not really. And I'm like, yay.
That's why.
Yeah. So now that they have some variation for skin tone, there's a little bit more variation on the options, but at the same time, it's still a little hard.
Big ass TV.
None of them are resonating with me in that, like, this is what people wear now.
I think it's fair to say that there's more than 3 black hairstyles.
Yeah, for sure.
Between Animal Crossing, Pokemon, and Elden Ring, it's almost like the more popular the game, the less options you'll have to be black in the game. And you know you're on the wrong side of history when the Harry Potter game is on the right side of history. I took
one white teacher was called out for being insensitive. He was offering free yoga training to black students, but then started posting how good of an ally he was of borderline stereotype pictures wearing big chains of people around him. And it's not like someone who wants credit for being an ally and is an actual ally. If you're an actual ally, you don't want credit for it. You're just an ally. You do things to support a group. You don't like brag about it and try to draw attention to yourself as being an ally.
One look at this game and I thought it was NBA 2K. That said, there are people in game development doing great work and who want to see blackness better represented. One of those people is Del Walker. Del formerly worked for Rocksteady and designed Deadshot for the upcoming Suicide Squad game and is now a character artist at Naughty Dog. I talked to Del to get some perspective on working on hair as a video game developer. So for you as a character artist, how much effort goes into just the hair portion of a character?
It starts off with a class, like an education lesson first. That's usually the thing that takes the most amount of time. Just introducing people to the idea that there are different hair textures. With black hair specifically, you kind of want to take 2 directions. You either want to simplify as much as possible, or you want to take the other route where we're actually going.
So when he says the kind of textures, when I was getting locks, the first question that I started seeing when I was doing like lock research was, what's your hair type? I was like, huh? What's my hair type? I didn't know shit about freaking things like hair type, because I was like, it's just hair. I assume all black hair at least is kind of just the same, a little thick and curly. Now there's different kind of black freaking like thickness when it comes to your hair, kind of curl textures.
Into fine detail by placing loads of polygons. The problem we had with maybe the generation before, the generation just before that, like Xbox 360 era, is you were trying to do that in the in-between era, right? You didn't have enough alpha class to like really fill out black hair, and you didn't want to go too simple. The advantage now is you don't have excuse because the tech can support what you need. Now it's just about having the knowledge or using the resources of black people to ask, is this right?
What are the next steps for studios to go to in order to start taking better steps toward getting black hair right?
First, deciding to build a library of information first and going to the source who's going to know a lot more than you. Going to someone who knows a lot, like someone who has experience, not just being black, but knowing about black hair, but saying, can you just show us lots of things that you think is cool, and just work down from there, rather than coming with them something half-baked and being like, hey, could you just stand off the edges and make sure, you'll see a completely different experience.
So Del, I want to do an activity with you. I've collected an assortment of images of black characters in video games. I want you to tell me something that these characters do well in their design.
We'll keep it positive. Let's do it.
Let's keep it positive. So here we got Miles Morales from Marvel Spider-Man. Del, what can you tell me about this character?
There are so many things right about this that was not just someone just saying, I'm going to look at some reference. Like, there are a lot of cultural decisions here. One of the things that people often get wrong is about black hairstyles is the hairline. A lot of the time, if black people have to style their hair, the first thing you do is make sure that the hairline is symmetrical. If you can't make it straight, you make it symmetrical.
Like Miles's hairline, Miles got a, like that's that fresh cut hairline.
Symmetrical as possible. If there's a bit of a widow's peak, you try and straighten out as much as possible, which is what they got correct. Yeah, man, 10 out of 10.
10 out of 10.
This is how to
There you go.
Okay, so first off, the fact that they did like huge big throw braids, it's great because what often happens with Street Fighter characters is you need to
games, been in some Spider-Man games, been in Ultimate Alliance as well.
Almost like a shrunken down version, and the fact that they chose the hair to be the biggest breaker of the silhouette means that it's almost celebrating her hair. Like her hair becomes the crown. A ethnically true hairstyle is like 50% of the win. And for the other game developers out there, like just don't treat black hair like an afterthought. Like, it's an entire spectrum and realm, and there's so much untapped cool stuff happening in it. Just take a day
you
or
can
two
be very creative when it comes to like black hairstyles and make your characters look cool as fuck.
Like, we'll think about that at the end. Changes everything.
Plenty of games are getting it right. Del praised Miles Morales, but it deserves even more of a spotlight. Gavin Golden, the game's art director, has talked about shifting the game's hair rendering style to be strand-based in order to account for Miles' more textured hair, and it shows, because I can't even get a haircut this clean in real life. Miles' hair was a focus for Insomniac, with them even taking advantage of the PS5's power. Miles literally has a next-gen fade, and jokes aside, it's this type of effort to push forward inclusion that makes black folks feel seen, as is evident from the response the game got on the internet when seeing Spider-Man Miles Morales originally revealed. And yes, I know Spider-Man Miles Morales is probably an easy example to give. It's a single-player action game with a Sony budget, literally starring an Afro-Latino character. So in that case, let's talk about Neo 2, an action—
Yeah, the Spider-Man Miles Morales game is mostly black characters. Like, even the pseudo villain is a black chick, so it's like majority of that game is just black people. Like there's the overarching bad guy is a white guy. You know, like there's some Latino characters, including, you know, Miles' mom's Puerto Rican, but like it's such a like a black game. Even like when it comes to like the music, it's just like it is an easy one to use as like a good blueprint on, hey, just be like this game.
An RPG developed by Team Ninja. Say what you will about cultural barriers, medieval fantasy settings not being black inclusive, and RPGs having way too much going on to get something like hair right. Neo 2's black hairstyle options are dope as f. Not only does the game include black textured hair, but in a game about being a badass warrior, they give variations on stylish locks that make me actually feel like a badass warrior. And for one of the few franchises competing in the same space as From Software's games, Neo 2 puts the soul in Souls-like. And then there's GTA Online, a game with honestly very
again, but what he basically said is like there's like so many variations of straight hair in Elden Ring, but basically just like one variation of black hair, which is a lot of games do that. A lot of games will have like majority of the character creator when it comes to hairstyles, it's different variations of just straight hair. Like it's all just straight hair, just different variations of straight hair, and then they're like, all right, black folk, y'all get these two hairstyles and just call it a day.
Limited hair options, but I bring it up because in September 2021, 8 years after the game's release, Rockstar, in an update, added exactly one new hairstyle. It was low-key and unceremonious, but it did spawn this post in the GTA Online subreddit titled, "Finally, a decent hairstyle for black players." Is it a random addition to the game? Yes. But also, it's a thoughtful gesture from Rockstar that was meaningful for a section of the community. For me, as an avid GTA Online player, I was elated, and then I remembered I still don't have enough cash to buy a DeLorean, and I was bummed out again. Speaking of communities, the Sims community is another example of an audience demanding more from their hair options. But the fascinating thing is that when Sims 4 didn't live up to providing its black community with the hairstyle options needed, the audience rose to the occasion instead. The Sims 4's custom content community is so vibrant that you can find videos of Keke Palmer rocking custom black hairstyles in The Sims 4. The thing that these examples have in common is that the people at the center of making these changes happen care and are knowledgeable. Because they're people of color. They understand what it feels like to be left out and why it's so important to be included. Better representation in video games starts with having better representation in the studios who make these games. And I promise you, I'm not speaking out of my ass here. I have a personal friend who works on a free-to-play game where the primary feature is character customization. This game has over 100 million downloads. And when I told my friend that I was working on this video, It hit close to home because this is the exact struggle that her team is facing. Currently, their game is doing a big push on black hairstyles. The art team can manage to create styles through browsing Instagram and Pinterest, but the styles they're producing are shots in the dark because nobody working on the game is black. There's a lack of cultural knowledge to know what's in, what's out, what's fresh, and what's been worn through because so much of the culture moves through.
Actually, is an afro hard to maintain? You had a great one. Most black hairstyles is, I'm going to use a car analogy, and this might be a bad analogy to use. A lot of black hairstyles are like a Ford. If you take care of it, it takes care of you. That's like a very old Ford saying. You take care of a Ford, it takes care of you. Same thing comes with black hairstyles. Black hairstyles, if you don't give a fuck about it, can get pretty like bad. But if you take care of it, will take care of you. Like even like when it comes to like locks, people have this mystique that locks are hard to maintain. They can get smells. Like, if you don't take care of your shit, sure. Even like when it comes to like regular hair, if a white chick with just regular straight blonde hair didn't wash her hair every so often, and you know, just didn't give a fuck, it would probably be horrible. So like any hairstyle is easy to maintain. It's only as hard as you make it be.
Beauty shops and through black hairstylists that push the envelope in their salons. Knowing what type of box braids to go with or what styles women are rocking currently is a very difficult thing to become an expert in if you don't come from that culture. To quote my friend directly, she says, "I don't want to discredit the work that my team is doing because we do want to do better. We're taking active steps in the right direction, and diversity has always been important to our game. But all of us realize that as an industry, there's a huge gap that only black talent can fill. A lot of black girls love our game. We just really want to make sure that they feel seen and represented. The people that make the games that you and I love know the importance of representation, but the needle is only going to get pushed by hiring more diverse people to work on our games." So what's the call to action here? Being informed is the first crucial step because the more we have an understanding of the diverse hair options that exist in real life, the more they can be normalized in the games we play. The second thing you can do is be vocal and supportive. If you see a dope-ass character creator or thoughtful representation, celebrate it out loud. If the next From Software game features Simple Plan lead singer Big Sean, call it out. And don't be an asshole about it, because that helps no one. And like I said earlier, game development is hard. But a shift in our games requires a shift in the conversations that we have about our games. And that's going to have to start with the audience that plays these games. We're the same audience contributing to 10 million sales of Pokemon Scarlet and 16.6 million for Elden Ring. The least you can do is get our hair right.
Big true. That was a really good video. Big true. Here's like the thing about it. We're going to link the video in chat and also leave a like, obviously. But like the big thing to me is like it's not that hard, especially when we have things like Twitch. You can contact so many content creators on Twitch and be like, hey, we just want to like poll you guys on some hair ideas. Being done. That's the link to his video. I want to check the comments though. I want to see like, is there? I'm being honest with y'all. I'm trying to see if there's any bad apples. I'd imagine they probably like deleted a lot of people who bad apples. Usually when videos like these come out, people are like, who cares? We're just playing video games. Don't bring your blah 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 into video games. Like, you see that like all the time. It's like, hopefully people were being a little more respectful in this video, but again, chances are they probably deleted a lot of the bad apples. But I said before, when it comes to me playing video games, I will literally stop playing a game if I can't make a character that looks like me. Like, I'm not even joking. There's been a number of games that are like on Game Pass. I'm like, all right, let's play this game. And then when I go to character creator, it's like, all right, my character just looks like a tan white guy. I just uninstall. Like, not even like joke. I just uninstall it. Same thing comes to like the MMOs or on PC. I'll be playing MMOs on PC. I'll be like, all right, let's check this game out. It's like, all right, character creator sucks. I can't even make a black guy. I'm out. I'll just uninstall. So like you lose people like me who want to like role play in the game because I can't make a character who looks like me. I understand that saying looks like me doesn't refer to like actually look like me, but like, have black features and black hairstyles and proper skin tones where it just doesn't like the tan of the race person. Yeah, so far just like there's a lot of just good comments, which I'm glad to see. Like every comment that I scroll by, there's like 418 comments like on all of them, but they all seem like really good comments. This was released 2 hours ago. Like I was literally going through Twitter and just popped on my freaking screen. All right, so we're gonna switch to some Shadow Warrior. That was a good video. But also, I've been preaching this about video games for the longest time. Like, Get the hair creators in these games better. Like they've been so shit. They've just been shit. A lot of these games character creators have been like dog water. And it gets like annoying. Like I'll literally just make a female character to avoid, you know, some games. Cause some games are really good. And it's like, all right, I'll just make a female character since making a male character is out of the question.